I finished and then I woke up. I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was a quick, easy read. I got it down in a week. It's a very unique spin on the zombie apocalyptic story. The main character, his last name is Spencer, and he's a loner, does odd jobs, and he becomes really good friends with one of his coworkers at a pizza shop. I believe her name was Macy. And the way they spin this particular zombie movie is like a hallucination. It's not real from the beginning of this book. So you have to have a certain disease that was like dormant in your brain, and then all of a sudden it gets triggered by something, a smell. They were smelling rotten flesh in the beginning when no one else was, and then they have visual hallucinations. They start seeing people becoming zombies and eating other people, but in actuality that wasn't true. It was their brain sickness that made them see that hallucination. And unfortunately, because of that hallucination, they blew up the pizza parlor, and in the pizza parlor that they thought were filled with zombies but were really filled with normal people, they killed them. There were children, women, men, youngsters. It didn't matter. They saw monsters and they referred to them as monsters, but they weren't monsters. But they killed them. And then they went out into the world, living like a post apocalyptic life, which wasn't real. They didn't need to because life was normal, and they only saw what they wanted to see because Spence said that there were signs all around on billboards. Hey, this is not real. Wake up, wake up. If you notice this, wake up, say this, wake up. But they didn't notice it because it's not what they wanted to see. That's not what their mind was registering. So he explains like how Macy was the believer. People were drawn to her. People followed her as he did. He was her first in command, but unfortunately, she got killed during a raid, which they saw as a raid with monsters coming to attack them, but it was actually the army telling them to put down their weapons and to surrender. They didn't hear that. All they saw was monsters, and she got killed during that raid. And during that, after that, he started noticing things, like he slowed down and basically start noticing the signs of like what's going on. He joined another group of survivors. They called the monsters the others, which really weren't the others, but anyway. So he went on a scouting trip to get supplies, not realizing, and again, another huge red flag, every time they went to stores or different places to get supplies, there were always boxes of supplies. Because the others that they thought the monsters, who actually weren't infected and weren't monsters, were actually kind of helping to build their little bubble of their world and set supplies up for them to leave them alone, basically. They were trying to build peace and be like, hey, you stay over there, we stay over here, we won't mingle, we just want to have peace. So they put these supplies around, but for some reason they never picked up on that and just thought they were finding loot. But anyway, one day during that scouting session, he noticed going to a house that the whole entire room was painted bright pink. Everything was pink, the same tone of pink. But the people he was with did not notice that explanation point, and then he realized something's going on, and then he starts seeing the signs because he was looking for them, of like, wake up, this is not real, wake up, if you want to wake up, do this, go to this particular van and click your heels. And that's what he did. He went to a van and said, I'm tired, I want to wake up, I want you to help me. And then he was put into a hospital called Ironside, where he got a cure. And then he realized he killed a lot of innocent people. But they had I forget what gratitude directive it was called, but they basically forgave him of his crimes, realizing that he wasn't in his right mind. And during this particular type of rehab, you get cured, you speak to the people's families, survivors of the people that you killed, which he does do at the end. But during his time in the hospital, he met another young lady named Leela, and they broke out of the rehab center. It wasn't really hard to do actually, and she was really drawn because on TV she saw her old leader Val, and she was drawn to him. That was her believer. He was the charismatic one that she was following, and that I think she was in love with. So they went to what she believed was their encampment, which it was, and she really wanted to go back. Even though she was cured, she wanted to be uncured, and she wanted to go back to that world because she knew it as home, because she was kind of lost. And Spence saw that, and he became a believer for her, and he spun a narrative for her to believe in mentally, to become uncured, to go back to her old camp. So that's what he did. He let her go. She fell for line sinking. I mean, hooks, hook, line, sinker, whatever you call that saying. She fell for it, and then he went back to Ironside, his home. But what I really like at the end, it kind of turns you on your head because we know it's some hallucination. So he's like, what happened if my cure is a hallucination? What happened when I'm perceiving is not real? What happened if I wake up every time is something different? So he tries really hard not to go to sleep, but he does. His body takes over. So in the end of the book, it's like, and I wake up and I'm with Macy, who we know is past. Then I wake up and I'm with Layla again with a different outcome. Then I wake up and I'm back in the hospital. Then I wake up and it's just darkness. So it kind of like, it's really trippy to be in a hell within your own mind of what you don't even know it's even real anymore. And just his descent, like, yeah, he's cured, but I don't think he really is, because he's really descending into madness, because every time he wakes up is a different scenario. Really enjoyed it. 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely going to be keeping this book. The next book I'm going to read that's on deck is The Slob. I love disturbing horror, so this is up my alley. I heard that he writes very disturbing horror. I did read a book of his called The Playground. Did not like it. I actually pitched it because I didn't want anyone else to read it. So we'll see how the slob goes. And I also have the sequel to this book from this author. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, I really enjoyed And Then I Woke Up. It was a great spin on a trope of zombies. So really enjoyed it.